Hey everybody, Little Monsters podcast. We're going to be doing top 10 best horror films of that I like and that Ted likes.
I didn't know I had to rank them, so I'm going to do my best.
Oh, God. I said 10 to 1. So we'll each go over our,
talk a little bit about them.
Yeah.
It won't be long. This will be a short one for you guys.
Hey,
Since
whatever.
our previous podcast was a little short, we got to make up for it.
We did Planet of Vampires. It was, whatever. We won't talk about that.
We're real sorry about that.
No, it's a movie still worth it.
So you get a little bonus episode.
Okay. So,
take it away.
Horror films. Okay, so it's whatever, horror comedy, old horror, new horror, whatever. We'll just start from 10 and work our way up. And my number 10 is the classic Night of the Living Dead, 1968, black and white.
Game changer.
Yeah, game changer, zombies. I mean, how can you go wrong? It was just
awesome
movie,
pulling the
man.
intestines out and fighting over the organs.
It's
it's got to be in a list somewhere. So at least he's got it, because I don't.
You don't got that in your list?
No,
Okay.
I don't.
Okay,
No, I
hey,
don't.
that's all right. What do you got for your number 10?
Last one on my list, and it's the most recent horror movie, is Bram Stoker's Dracula from 91, 92.
Okay.
Flaws and all, and there are flaws, and I will freely admit that. Keanu Reeves, you didn't belong in this movie. Winona Ryder, I could tolerate her. But I also think, and he's not usually mentioned, I also think Anthony Hopkins was horribly miscast in this movie.
Yeah.
I feel that the character of Dr. Van Helsing needed to be a little bit more serious and a little bit more hardened, and not be such a jokester and brevity and everything.
Right.
But Gary Oldman owns that movie.
Right. If he wasn't cast in that role, this
I don't
wouldn't
think
be
I'd ever heard
your
of him
number
before
10.
that
This would be
movie.
your number 100th or 1000th.
Gary
whatever.
Oldman made that movie so great and made that character, even though it's vastly different from the original Bram Stoker source novel, he made that character so pitiable and sympathetic. And I do like the way that Francis Ford Coppola tried to put the two, the actual story of Vlad the Impaler with Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Right.
And plus, this was before CGI, really, and the in-camera effects and some really old-school effects and just the overall tone of the movie.
I can't get comfortable in my chair.
Really make it, and I remember seeing it at the theater a couple times, and it really impacted me, and it's still one that I really like.
Yeah.
So that's my number 10, and it's the most recent one on my list, guys. So they all go old from there.
Okay, I got one newer one that I'm surprised that's on there, but we'll get to it.
All right, what's your number 9?
Okay, number 9 is and this is plainly Young Frankenstein, 1973.
You love that movie.
Gene Wilder. I could watch this movie twice a year for the rest of my life. Probably will. I mean, there's so many one-liners, just so many great.
And see, I appreciate it, but I don't love it anywhere near like he does. So
really,
I don't hate it. Just, I
know
you.
No, I know
it.
this is our top 10.
Right.
I mean, there's so many movies that you could think, oh my God, why is that?
It probably wouldn't be in my top 20.
Why is that not there? Why
but
is
I know
that
you're
not there?
a huge fan. I've watched it with you. I think at one time and.
Gene Wilder, man.
I don't laugh as much. Mel Brooks movies don't quite do it for me as much, but I know you're a big fan.
Because I love stupid stuff in the movie, like the Mel Brooks stupid stuff, like just one-liners and stupid little things, like walk like this, and he starts walking. What's his name?
What, Igor?
Corey. The guy with the big eyes. What's his name?
I can't remember his name in real life.
Anyways,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean,
like the Igor type character.
Yeah, he goes walk like this up the steps, and he goes like this. So I mean, just stupid stuff Mel Brooks would do. But I mean, this is horror comedy, but it's on my list because Gene Wilder is just so great. There's actually another one that was going to be an honorable mention that isn't on my list, but I might as well throw it out there because it's Gene Wilder 2.
I got a couple honorable mentions at the end too.
It's Gene Wilder 2. This isn't on my list. This is Haunted Honeymoon.
Okay, I've heard of it, never saw it.
Gene Wilder. Bunch of people get in a big giant haunted house, and he's scared to death. He's like an old time radio, like Inner Sanctum, he's the host. But
is that a Mel Brooks movie?
He's got bunch of little quirks. No, Dom DeLuise is in it.
Okay, okay.
A lot of really cool people.
I should check it out.
Oh, if you haven't seen it, you gotta check it out.
All right.
Funny as heck, but horror genre, horror comedy.
Because we've done some horror comedies. Maybe we should do something like that.
Yeah, and I got one more a little farther up, but that's my 9. What's your 9?
My number 9. The next one on here, and it's kind of lower on the list. Like I said, I didn't realize I was
ranking
them,
That's
but
all right.
I'll put the original Frankenstein, James Whale. I love my Universal monsters.
Right.
But the one that I feel the most closest to is Frankenstein. Just period. Any kind of Frankenstein movie I'm always interested in. The idea, you got Boris Karloff.
Right.
Perfect, silent role for him. But you just know that, this body was put together from all kinds of different parts, some from good people, some from bad people. Mm-hmm. And you just felt like watching that film, if someone had just been a little bit nicer to him, maybe that all those pieces parts would have become a whole new person, and someone good could have come out of that. Right. But because he was so feared and mistreated, he became the monster that we would know him in the later films. But OG Frankenstein, love it. My daughter loves it. I love it. Just great on a cold rainy night.
Oh yes,
on a big TV.
And my daughter's loves it too.
Yep, she's got her own DVD in her room.
All the black and white Universal monsters. And you'd be surprised that they're not on my top 10 list, but they're probably top 20. Mm-hmm. That's why
you
I'm saying...
You don't have any Universals in your top 10?
I don't.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
But that's what I'm saying. There
you go.
Ted, there's so many movies that,
But that's the only one. That's the only Universal I have on my top 10.
Okay. Well, I'll get to my number 8 is another horror comedy, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Okay, classic. Well, that's a Universal.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So there we go.
Classic. It's got them all in it.
Right. It's got
Dracula,
and it's the only other time that Bela Lugosi plays Dracula.
Exactly. So in this movie,
Wolfman, Lon Chaney.
Yep. Invisible Man.
And the part with him
at the end
is awesome. Right.
Yeah.
With I think Vincent Price doing the voice.
Yes. Yes. So. That's my number 8, and I love the old black and whites. So I mean, like I said, even though the rest I don't have no Universals, but this is all time.
Abbott and Costello is just classic, and don't write it off just because it's a comedy and Abbott and Costello.
Oh no!
I mean, there's some cool, creepy moments, and it's just fun. It was just. That's where it was going. It was those mashups. Before you had the Marvel universe, you had the Universal universe, and that's the cool thing about the
1948. Yep.
That's the cool thing about the Universal monster movies, that if you watch all the original ones, and then if you start watching like the sequels in the order that they came out, whether it was a Dracula, a Frankenstein, or a Wolfman sequel, it all kind of one picked up where the other one left off, and it all kind of told one big story, especially when it comes to terms with Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman, especially those three. If you watch those movies and all the sequels in the order they came out in, it's like watching one big giant movie, and at the end you get the Abbott and Costello movie. Yeah. So
where they all come together and
which doesn't pick up from any of the previous movies.
No,
but
Dracula's in control of Frankenstein.
Right. But there is continuity amongst those films, and there you go. And I guess that's what they're trying to do now by bringing like the Dracula Untold, and they're trying to do that again. And I'm anxious to see where it goes. I wasn't a huge fan of Dracula Untold. I watched it. If the other ones, tie in and it's all becomes some really cool story, then I'll probably be more of a fan.
Right.
But I kind of got to see where it's going. Right. So,
cool.
That's my. Was it 9?
8.
8. Whatever.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it was your 8.
Yeah. That was
so now it's my.
my.
Oh god, I did all the talking. Now I got to do talking again. My number 8 movie we just did 2 weeks ago, Reanimator. Probably about the goriest movie I like. Yeah. I don't know, just ever since I first saw it as a kid, it just struck me.
That's what's going to be with a lot of these movies.
Yeah.
It's you might ask, why is that on your top 10 or this and that? I mean, they're all deserving, I think.
And like what you said, that's a movie I watch a few times a year.
There's certain movies that hit everybody a little bit better than, whether it's memories or just well-made movies.
I mean, apart from Barbara Crampton being in it, I think just Jeffrey Combs' performance in it is just awesome. Like we were just talking before we fired the pilot, the cat scene alone makes it worth some kind of a list.
Yes.
When they're fighting the cat in the basement, and I laugh out loud when I watch it, and it's just fun. It's a fun movie for me, and so that's why it's on mine.
Yeah. Okay, number 7. Let the Right One In. The Swedish 2008 one? Swedish version.
Okay, it was a good movie.
I love the styling of the movie. I love the characters. The girl vampire was great. Mm-hmm. Everything about it I love. I do tend to like the Swedish movies. A lot of the foreign movies too. I love
Right.
them. So this goes right up there. I mean, the American version was great too, but I would put this up above that one even.
Right.
So.
And what I liked about the Swedish version is, they do, even though they don't come right out and say it, there is a scene in the movie. I'm not really going to get graphic about it,
right.
but there's a part where it's inferred that the vampire is actually a boy,
right.
That's been castrated. And that's not in the American one. She's a girl in the American one.
Yeah.
And if you've read the book, and I've read the book, it goes into a little bit more detail of what happened to him and how that happened.
Mm-hmm.
But it's even cool, like how in the Swedish version, she even says to him, well, what if I'm not a girl? And that can be taken two different ways. So there's subtle things, and I really like the Swedish one too. If I probably had to pick between the two, I'd probably go with that too.
Yeah, awesome movie, love it, love it. Okay, number 7.
Number 7, I have my only comedy and horror is the Comedy of Terrors. With
there you go. Yeah.
And I've always touted myself as a big Vincent Price fan on this show, and I am.
Yeah.
And I love his horror movies, but this one I can watch over and over again. Have you ever seen it?
I haven't seen it yet.
We're gonna do it.
That's
we're
why
gonna do it soon.
It will be one of our movies. Yeah.
Because
I've got to see it.
You've got Vincent Price, and you're gonna love it. I promise.
Oh, I'm sure.
Boris Karloff, one of his later roles. Peter Lorre, who was awesome. He died shortly after I think he made this movie, one of these movies.
I loved Peter Lorre in his later years when he did a lot of his movies.
Yeah,
he was great.
And Basil Rathbone. Now, if you know your old horror movies and noir movies, Basil Rathbone, apart from being in horror movies, was also Sherlock Holmes. Peter Lorre was in, he played in that movie M, which is a German film where he plays like
almost
a
put
child
that
molester.
Almost put that on my list, but I didn't.
And then everybody knows Boris Karloff and Vincent Price, but it's about Vincent Price plays an undertaker who's a little down on his luck and behind in his rent. Peter Lorre's his assistant, and every once in a while they have to drum up business. So they decide to go off a few bodies to drum up some business. Boris Karloff plays his father-in-law, who's a doddering old senile man. And Basil Rathbone is his landlord. So hilarious, but just the
Where's
premise.
the rent?
Yeah, pretty much. And it's just
the game's afoot. The rent's afoot. Anyways,
it's just hilarious from beginning to end.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. I mean, you've
so
really
good.
hyped this up. I hope it ain't a Planet of the Vampires.
No,
I know it's not going to be. With these characters, it can't be.
No, and there's no way you can go wrong watching that movie. It's
I can't
fun for the whole family, and
I'm saving it to watch it till we do the podcast on it.
It's my favorite Vincent Price movie.
Okay, and let's see. That takes us to number 6, and number 6 for me is The Conjuring, the 2013 movie.
Wow, never saw it.
You never saw that movie?
I don't watch anything recent, really.
Well, see, I really don't like to watch a lot of these newer movies, too, but I took a chance and watched this.
Yeah?
Nothing gory, nothing bloody. This was a scary, scary movie. Up there with The Exorcist.
Haven't they made another one since then?
Isn't it Annabelle? And I think they're doing they're going to start they always do this to great movies. Mm-hmm. They spin off and do so. I think the Annabelle movie is the doll from The Conjuring. Haven't seen it.
It's a doll, like Puppet Master kind of.
No.
Oh, Puppet Master's probably better.
But Ted, if you haven't seen The Conjuring, watch it.
All right.
There's scenes in there that just freak me out.
All right, I'm gonna try it.
Very well done.
I'll try not to wait 20 years.
Supposedly based on a true story. No. You should give that a watch.
All right.
Horror fan, man.
Throw it on the iPad.
This ain't one you're gonna go, why'd he tell me to watch? You're gonna go, holy crap, this is a darn good movie.
All right.
So that's my 6. So what's your 6?
Let's see. Going up the list here, probably the only epic horror movie ever made, The Shining.
Almost put that on my list.
It's not on your list?
Not on my list.
Stanley Kubrick. I'm a big Stanley Kubrick fan. Stanley Kubrick and Sergio Leone are probably like, I watch a lot of movies, but they're like one directors. Like, there's certain directors I will also watch, and those are about the only two.
Yeah.
That it just seemed like as their movies went on, each one was just a masterpiece.
Right.
Especially like with Kubrick starting like with like Dr. Strangelove or something like that. Just every film is just something beautiful. And Shining is the weird one in his, filmography. It's foray into horror.
Yeah.
And I know Stephen King hated it.
Well, we won't go into that because Stephen King hates every movie ever made of his. So
I don't know, but he really loathed Stanley's version, and it gets under my skin. There's just a sense of dread the entire movie.
Oh yeah,
and everybody's seen it, so I'm not going to get into like all the details or anything, but there's just all the little scenes, and I've even watched all the stuff about the hidden meanings and things. There's documentaries on YouTube and stuff, and that's all interesting, but I don't want anything to take away from just the sheer terror. I mean, to me, I just watch it and I feel like a lot of what's going on in that hotel is just a manifestation of what alcoholism does to a family. And you could look at it as a haunted hotel story. I kind of look at it the other way.
Yeah.
And I just absolutely, it's not one that I'll watch it maybe once a year. And just always got under my skin. I love it.
Oh yeah, I watch that about once a year too. So yeah, definitely a good one. Okay, number 5, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974. Tobe Hooper. Classic. I mean, this takes me right back to my childhood. I mean, my
good old childhood.
The reason, well, I think we've been over this before in our podcast. We were allowed to watch horror movies, man, growing up in our tweens and teens.
I didn't get to watch that movie until it was on Channel 43, all chopped up.
Oh, I remember seeing
there's really very little blood in the movie. It's just...
the hammer to the head in the bucket scene.
But it's not that bloody. There's really very little gore in the movie itself. Yes,
I'd say
what
disturbing scenes.
What you don't see or what your imagination takes over is worse.
Even though you don't see that bucket of blood or what, I mean, it's what's going on that's disturbing, and just the characters, the originality of the movie, the way it starts. I mean, the
BS
killings.
Crazy.
I mean, it's awesome horror, top, horror. I love it. So, that's my number 5. What's your 5?
Right. I guess my 4 and 5 could be interchangeable, but I'll just go in the order that's here. It's a film that we did a double feature of in our podcast, Brides of Dracula.
Okay. Hammer horror.
Hammer. I always talk about Hammer.
Yep.
It's time to start talking about some Hammer. I remember watching these films on Channel 43 here in Cleveland, Superhost. I always talk about my guy Superhost.
Oh yeah.
He would show
I gotta
Godzilla
get a
movies.
Picture up here somewhere.
Yeah, I'm even gonna get a T-shirt. There's a website that sells T-shirts. I want to get a T-shirt.
Cool.
And I'll print out a picture so you guys can see what they look like. If you're not from, if you're not from this area, everybody's got their own little horror movie host. He was like a Saturday matinee kind of host,
right? And
he would show a lot of Godzilla movies, monster movies, the science fiction movies, and he would show some Hammer movies too. And this is where I got my exposure to all these movies. Later on, I think. I kind of fell out of them. Like, I watched them when I was a kid. And then, like, growing up in school and high school, I didn't, old movies, whatever,
right.
You just wanted to go with your friends to the new movies.
Yeah.
And then when, I think we finally got, like, Sci-Fi Channel on Cox, and they started showing some of these again. And when Sci-Fi Channel used to show good stuff, and they used to show The Prisoner and Dark Shadows and Hammer movies,
not these made-for-TV,
not
big long giant
Sharknado or whatever.
Whatever, yeah.
And I started watching them again because I remembered them, and I just forgot how good they were. I really liked the atmosphere and the sets. It always looked so authentic to me.
Right.
And my first exposure to Peter Cushing is Star Wars, and then I think he just grabbed my attention when I would watch those movies on Channel 43 because I knew him from Star Wars, so I would do that, and I would watch him, and he's since become probably my favorite actor. Peter Cushing, I would say, with Vincent Price, is probably my favorite actors.
Yeah.
And Brides of Dracula is just a fantastic. It's the first sequel to the Dracula movies in Hammer's cycle, and we've talked. I think you at least liked it. I don't know if he's definitely not the Hammer fan that I am, but.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I mean, for what we like and what we've grown up with, he's the Hammer guy. He's the Universal and black and white set too, but if you were to rank him, he's the Hammer guy. I'm the old black and white horror movie
Hammer
fan.
squeaks up past Universals for me.
So mine is...
I think it's just that Technicolor and... the blood was so red.
Right.
And
it's what attracts you to that style of movie making.
Right. And Peter Cushing, I found him very dynamic in those roles, and I'm just an immense fan of his.
Awesome. And number 4, we're gonna do this podcast next week. The Evil Dead, the original, 1981.
Labor of love for those guys: Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, all those guys involved in that. years, really, to make that movie.
Mm-hmm. And I love everything about it. I mean...
Game changer as well, just...
Playing the record,
Right.
Trapped in the basement, the coming up. I mean, it's just...
The perspective of the evil dad coming through the forest. And
scary movie.
Right, and just how the history of Sam Raimi just beating the hell out of Bruce Campbell in these movies. But yeah, I mean, just the very definition of do-it-yourself, independent movie making and getting it out there yourself. Even though it took years to do it and money from family and friends and working part-time jobs, they did it, and you reap the rewards of it. It's considered, one of the top ones.
Yeah, sometimes that's the best way to make a movie.
100% yourself.
Yep.
So, number 4 on my list, the other half of the double feature podcast we did, I don't think it was even a video one, I think it was just audio.
Okay.
Was The Horror of Dracula, or I think everywhere else in the world it's Hammer's, Dracula. The first Christopher Lee Dracula film, Peter Cushing's in it as well. Mm-hmm. It's just a retelling of Bram Stoker's Dracula, the classic story.
Yeah.
Just again, the Technicolor, the blood, the music, the sets,
style,
all that stuff just really attracted me. So it's always one of my favorites, and I'm just waiting, for a Blu-ray of it in this country. We still don't have it yet, and they've found like an uncut version from Japan, I think I was talking about, where there's a little bit more of the disintegration of the vampire scene at the end, and I've never been able to see it, so I would very much like for that to be released here.
Yep.
To the powers that be, please. It's time.
We'll see about that. Okay, and my number 3 is...
after you.
I love that thing. You got to just start holding it up.
The whole cast.
Yeah,
take it with me to restaurants. And...
Oh, man. Okay, and number 3 for me is Halloween, the original from 1978.
Not even on my list.
Not even on your list.
Not even on my list.
Yeah, I think
but I do love it.
I think it's on my list because it's so impactful from my childhood again. Mm-hmm. Another one, me and my uncle sat down and we watched Friday, Saturday night. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, just...
watch it every year, You're going to watch it every year.
Yeah.
I do.
I mean, great flick. I mean, it never gets old. But for me, just more personal and classic, Kind
of like the first American, like we were saying, besides Psycho, maybe like the first American slasher,
Yeah.
And it's well done. It was another, I think...
Living legend, Michael Myers, I mean...
And at the time that it came out, it was the most... the highest grossing independent film of all time. So
yeah.
And it put John Carpenter on the map, and
Jamie Lee
Curtis, of course, got her start there. And it's since been tainted by some of the sequels.
Right.
Which, I mean, I don't hate all the sequels.
Right.
But if you just left the first one right there. Yeah. And I grew up actually watching it. I think I mentioned it in one or two podcasts ago. A buddy used to, neighbor down the street used to, have two VCRs and would, dub movies. Yeah. And he put the first two together. And that's how the first, few years I watched it, that's how I always thought it was. This big long... Well, he told me it was the first two. But I thought that's how you were supposed to watch it.
It's a 4-hour movie.
Yeah, this big epic horror movie. But when you see just the first one at the end, when he's disappeared after being shot, and they're showing all these views of the house, and then you hear him breathing behind that mask, it's like he's everywhere. He's not just here, he's everywhere. He's behind you. He's in your neighborhood.
This is a movie that I have to watch on Halloween. Yeah. Every year,
One thing I have to watch on Halloween is Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
That too.
I have to watch. I'm depressed if I don't get to watch it. But I have a DVD, so I just pop it in.
Same here, man.
But I think if it had just been, and I'm sure John Carpenter would 100% agree, if you just left it after the first one, it's just, but then it's, it's just how
I'm taking
horror fans
number
are.
one as its own. Yeah.
But then, but I will say, like as far as, and it's not on my list. It's an honorable mention, but like Nightmare on Elm Street, that's a franchise that I like the sequels.
Yeah, that could have definitely been on my list too.
But we'll talk about that a little bit because I got a little honorable mention section. Okay. So where are we at?
We're 3.
A movie that we plan on doing in a couple weeks, Freaks by Todd Browning. I think 1931-32. Okay. It's a short film. It's only a little over an hour long, and it stars actual sideshow freaks, people with deformities. Like a guy with no arm and legs. When you watch a part where he takes a match and lights a cigarette with no arms, no legs, just his mouth.
The cinematography of this movie is very good.
Yeah, I mean, Todd Browning started off in silence with the Lon Chaney Sr. Man of a Thousand Faces. He directed the original Dracula and made Freaks, shortly after, if not his next film, shortly after Dracula.
The scene where he inches in the rainstorm
with
in the mud.
With a knife in his teeth.
Oh.
And we're gonna be a little bit more in
talk
depth,
about
but
that.
Great. When we do that movie, you really got to try to seek it out and watch it. It was banned in some countries.
Yeah.
It was considered exploitive, but it teaches a moral lesson at the end.
Right.
About tolerance and treating people with dignity and respect despite what they might look like.
Right.
And it's a film that absolutely, unless it was a documentary, could not be made today. Nobody would make a movie like that today.
No.
And it's just not so much scary, but just the collection of these people all in one place. And when we do talk about it, my father has a couple of books about sideshow people, and I'll bring them in. There's pictures and things like that. One's like a photo album with all kinds of strange looking, deformities and things like that.
Cool.
And, we'll talk about that.
Awesome.
Great movie.
Awesome. Yeah. Number 2, The Exorcist, 1973. And
what do you say about The Exorcist?
It's one of the scariest movies ever made.
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell you, and why it's on top of my list. I mean, not just the fact that it's one of the scariest movies ever made, but I read the book first.
Well, I've read the book too.
Well, no. I saw the movie. I saw the movie at the drive-in with my uncle, who passed out outside of the car.
That was like the whole thing when it came out, because it came out Christmas Day.
Yeah.
It was a Christmas Day movie, and then movies back then played for a long time.
Yeah, but the book scared me worse than the movie.
The book it's a very frightening book.
I got into it reading it a little older, like 16, 17.
Yeah, it's probably when I did it too. High school, I read it.
And I'm reading it, in my bedroom in the dark, and freaking me out, because there's a lot more in the book than even they put in the movie. But to put it in your head as you're reading it, scary movie.
If you're a religious person, it's definitely, I think, a little more disturbing. There's,
oh yeah,
you go on any kind of internet forum or something, people say, it's nothing. It's, what. You got.
It's a movie that got me thinking about possession and evil and spirits back in the day. That's really what it did for me. I mean,
I'm certainly not a religious person. I'm not a church-going person or anything like that. But what that film does for me is it kind of confirms that maybe somewhere in this universe there is something that is not good. There is something that is evil, that does not know how to love. And because we have that ability, it hates us and wants to taint us as much as it can to take that away. And what better way to do that than to, completely obliterate a 12-year-old little girl. And, again, I think this is a movie that couldn't be made today. Not at least not with a child. And they did use a child. Now, there were some parts where they didn't use a child. But there are scenes in that film, the cross scene, all right, we're not going to get in. No way. No way would that fly today. And to use a child to say that kind of language.
To do what she did.
To do what she did in that movie. And they did use a double for some scenes.
Yeah.
But that child did a lot of it. And
it's a disturbing film.
And you know what? I challenge you. Even if you don't like it, it could try to get it made today. Exact same movie. Go ahead, try it. You won't do it.
This is a movie you...
70s were a different time.
If you're young, you gotta... your chick with you, man. You want to get her scared? Watch this movie. She'll either get scared and get close to you, or she'll tell you, I don't ever want to see you again.
And I
How could you dare show me that movie?
Just watch the original. Not that version you never seen and director's cut and stuff. They did add stuff to the end.
Yeah.
And then it's all good. But sometimes, some movies need a little tweaking as time goes on.
Yeah.
Many, if not most, do not.
Right.
And I felt
I agree.
that if you left The Exorcist and where it was, it kind of just depended on what kind of person you were. If you were a positive person, you thought good one. If you were more of a negative person, you kind of thought maybe the evil one at the end.
Right.
And but you're right. You need to read the book though, because as far as watching the movie is concerned, you think it was the devil, because that's what they claim as a devil. And when you read the book, you realize that it is not the devil. It's actually another demon called Pazuzu.
Right.
And the fact that he's making the girl say the devil is to make everyone think, oh, she's crazy. Everyone says they're possessed by the devil or Napoleon or someone famous. and that can let him stay in there and do what he's got to do. It's all part of the demon's plan. And there's even more things in the book too. So
very well written.
Yes,
even the movie very well done.
William Peter Blatty, he wrote one of the Pink Panther movies, I think. Shot in the Dark or something like that. Yeah, he was a screenwriter, and took his hand at writing a novel.
Awesome.
And then he did write another one called Legion, which they made. Exorcist 3 is the adaptation of Legion. I believe the ending of the movie is very different from the ending of the book. I don't really remember the book that well, but those two, if you just watch those two, and there's some really creepy scenes in Exorcist 3.
Yeah.
It's worth watching as well. And they do kind of go together. Skip 2. There's some cool stuff in it, but not enough. And those other two that they made, like the two prequels, like two different people made the same movie.
Yeah.
Skip those as well. Just 1 and 3 kind of make an interesting little pair to watch.
Exactly. Okay, well, what's your 2?
My number 2, our first movie podcast that we talked. It was just audio, Island of Lost Souls. This was a early 1930, I think 31, 32, adaptation of The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells.
Awesome movie.
Which, creepy movie. The best version of The Island of Dr. Moreau that's ever been made. Great monster animal effects. Bela Lugosi's got a part in it, and just Charles Lawton is just eats it up as so sadistic and sinister. If you haven't seen it, there's a beautiful Blu-ray of it by Criterion Collection.
I thought you were going to say there's a beautiful cat girl woman.
Oh, the cat girl, Panther woman, whatever
Panther,
she is.
yeah.
But it's just, I love the story. I love the book. It's just a fantastic story. I mean, there's things that I like about each movie version.
Right.
Even the last one that they did back in the 90s. But this one takes the cake. Watch it on a dark night. Put the Blu-ray on. It's just so awesome.
Cool. Okay, then my number 1
Planet
horror
of Vampires.
Film. No, Rosemary's Baby, 1968.
I knew what the answer was.
Mia Farrow. What can...
Oh, great.
Ted, what can I say about this movie, man? I love the cinematography.
I think it'd be tough for some young audiences. I think they might find it a little slow, but I think that's just because of the MTV ADD. No, I just say MTV. I'm dating myself. But just that ADHD culture.
This is top of the list for a lot of people. I mean, a lot of sites groups,
fogies like us.
But I mean.
But I agree with you. It's fantastic.
Story.
I didn't put it on my list because I knew you'd have it on yours. So we haven't shared anything the same, which is kind of cool.
Mia Farrow, man, beautiful.
Yes.
I mean, I got to get that in. That's
at her height, man.
That's not at her height. Beautiful 60s, like Twiggy, model type. I mean,
kind of chick you like.
But I mean, just the movie itself, the setting, they're in Paris. The atmosphere to the movie itself. I mean, everything about this movie I love. The ending, how they get through the.
Have you ever read the book?
We'll go through this. I haven't read the book.
I have, and there's a sequel to it called Son of Rosemary, and the same author did write a sequel to it as well. They never made it into a film. I have both of them on my reader, but I haven't read them yet.
I should read the books. I mean, especially the sequel too.
Yeah,
I mean, because this is
curious.
And to tell you the truth, Rosemary's Baby, I just watched this within the past couple of years, and got hooked. I mean,
Oh, you hadn't seen it before?
I had never seen it before.
Wow, okay. I've seen it for ages.
So it took me this long to watch it, and it's my favorite horror movie of all time.
And that's another one that's got a beautiful Blu-ray from Criterion Collection as well, with a lot of extras and stuff. So if you're interested, it's got a lot of cool stuff.
Cool. So yeah, and we will do a podcast of that movie one day too.
Yeah, but, got to.
Okay, and you're number 1.
Number 1, back to Hammer, Curse of Frankenstein.
I kind of knew that's what was going to be your number 1.
Because I hadn't mentioned it yet. The Curse of Frankenstein is Peter Cushing's first foray into the character of Victor von Frankenstein. Christopher Lee plays the creature in this film, and I love everything about the movie. The acting, the color, the way that they made the monster look. It was so drastically different from Universal. Like deadish, bluish tinted skin, scarred and pustules, and the eyes all kind of glossed over, whitened.
It's almost a classic picture that you would see anywhere when you think Hammer horror.
Early, late 50s, but the first time you would see little gore like eyeballs and brains and severed hands and things like that. Just a great film, different from the book in many ways, but I've watched it so many times, and another Blu-ray that needs to come out, please, because I'm tired of my old DVD. I want something better, and it's available in Blu-ray in other countries, but from what I understand, the quality's not that great, so I'm not going to bother to import it. So my absolute favorite, not in my top 10 favorite movies, but if we did that, you'd see that my tastes are very different. If you talked about my actual favorite movies, none of these movies are really make the top 10 on that. So
we could always every now and then throw some. I mean, we could put out some of our most
recommended. Yeah,
recommended. Our favorite unknown movies. I mean, there's plenty of those too.
Right. I mean, it'd be nice to know kind of the ages of some of the people that listen to us. Just to throw some out you may not have seen. There's movies that I think for my age group we've all seen. But, you never know. The younger group may not have seen, something like Eraserhead that we were talking about before. Right. Or, maybe some other David Lynch movies or things like that. So, yeah. Or, I'm sure Hammer movies. But I know we've got Hammer fans listening to us. So.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite horror movie, Curse of Frankenstein.
Cool. Yeah, and that wraps it up, man. That's my Dino's top 10 list.
Do you have any honorable mentions?
Top 10. No, I just had that Haunted Honeymoon down there.
Okay.
I mean, I could put all the Universal monsters as honorable mentions.
I had some honorable mentions.
Right underneath.
A couple of them are yours. You go ahead. Exorcist, of course. Okay. Halloween. Since I love Vincent Price, probably the Vincent Price movie that I find the most scary is The Pit and the Pendulum.
Okay.
But I like Comedy of Terrors better. Okay. And neither one of us mentioned Nightmare on Elm Street, except, kind of in passing.
Right.
I really feel like...
That would have been 11, 12, 13, somewhere around there for me.
That's a franchise where even the bad sequels... I like something about all, except for the remake, I like something about all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And that's the only, horror franchise, the big ones, Child's Play...
Yeah.
Halloween, Friday the 13th. These are the only ones that I really like all the movies.
Yeah.
And I really feel like... maybe not the last, but probably one of the last really great ideas in horror, at least to create an icon. Freddy has stood the test of time. Everyone in the world knows who Freddy Krueger is.
Yep.
And I really feel like, I really wish they would take Robert Englund and make a prequel movie about, the things that he did. They kind of did it in the TV show, the first episode, but that was cheese and not very good.
Right.
Toby Hooper directed that first episode. But, you get what you're given, and, you get a script, and that's what you got to work with. But
did I just do that?
But,
yeah, girl!
I still think that would be a good idea, and something I'd be interested in watching if they didn't, F it up too much. But I think Nightmare on Elm Street, that was a game changer. That was a new and fresh idea. And there's a lot of symbolism and stuff behind the red and the green sweater and things like that. And it deserves to be on a little list.
Surprised you didn't have Wicker Man on there.
It almost, when I was looking at all my titles, it was almost there because I really love Wicker Man.
Right.
It probably, honestly, would have been next.
Right.
If I could have put one more on there.
Like I said,
that's not an honorable mention movie. That's a favorite.
See, I could put a top 10 list of my favorite black and white horror movies.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the best of the best. That is
right.
In the horror genre.
I mean, I probably could look at this and maybe take Bram Stoker's Dracula off and put Wicker Man on there. There's some that are interchangeable, but Wicker Man is definitely as much as I talked about it when we did the podcast. I'm definitely, it should be on my list, and it's
cool.
It's all right.
So if you guys haven't seen any of those, man, catch up on them.
Yeah, I love that ours are both different. Nothing was the same.
Tells you the taste. I mean, I didn't tell him what I was doing. He wasn't telling me what I was. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah, excellent.
So,
good idea.
Awesome, man. So check both our podcasts out, and we'll be doing Evil Dead next week. So that's it, man.
All right.
And until then, you guys take care.
Good night.